Leider ist das alte Bowlingtreff seit 1997 geschlossen und die Stadt Leipzig sucht dringend einen Investor. Man muss natürlich da sehr viel Geld inzwischen gibt es und dort ist sehr viel Wassereinbrüche. Ja, hier zur Linken wird heute die neue katholische Kirche in Leipzig eröffnet.
Ecco, oggi diciamo questo periodo iniziale del postmoderno rischia lo stesso tipo di istruzione, perché il gusto è cambiato, alcune cose sono viste senza essere comprese e quindi si pensa di distruggere le testimonianze di un'epoca che invece secondo me va ricordata perché è stata un'epoca interessante di trasformazione.
Wow, this is a clip out of a wonderful film, Bowlingtreff, about a leisure center, a bowling center built in the late 80s in Leipzig when it was still East Germany. And this wonderful film has been brought to us by Adrien Dorscher and Thomas Beyer. One is journalist. Who is the journalist? You're the journalist, and the other one is the architect. And they
and who's the filmer?
Yeah, where's it?
What happened to the filmer?
Killed by a bowling ball, I think. A late bowling ball. So you made a film on this subject. How come? You hit upon this subject and then you thought, well, there's a film in it, or what was the reason?
Yeah, we were. As a journalist, I'm always like in the city and like always.
You're both living in Leipzig.
We are both living in Leipzig, and we know each other for years. And then one day I just told Adrien by accident that this is for sale or something like for sale in the city. This bowling alley. This looks like a remote place, but it's really in the center of Leipzig. And then his reaction was like, oh my God, the Bowlingtreff. And then he came up with a story.
You'd heard of the Bowlingtreff?
Yeah. I mean, you have to know it's really in the middle of the city, and every Leipziger is passing this building like every day.
It's on the ring, huh?
It's on the ring.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. And I did once when I was studying a study about the Leipzig ring, about like the development from the falling of the medieval ring wall to today. Yeah, there's a graphic, and from there I knew that there was like a round building before the World War II.
Yeah, a classical round building.
Yeah, a classical historism building. This is the one. And it was destroyed in World War II, and it was in the last days of the GDR, they built like this bowling alley. And I was always wondering because it's so strange building. Because it's totally different to everything you know from, if you know like GDR architecture, it's totally different to, I mean, like in the 80s, it was like the economy was totally getting down. They were just building like the satellite villages out of the city, like these really big blocks, housing blocks. And the downtown Leipzig was totally falling down. Everything was gray and stuff. And then they built like this, you see an inside image.
There was this fantastic idea of all the people were depressed, of course, and they're all, there was the Stasi, and they were fed up with the whole system, but they had to live a life. And then suddenly someone came up with the idea, let's make some fun. And then they started this, and they built it.
It's wonderful in the movie, the people you spoke to who used to work there, for example, they look like they're in love, the way they talk about this place. Finally there was a place that was fun to be, and that had a promise of frivolousness and of the West. Bowling was something associated with the West.
It was America.
They
this
still
is
have
another
this
strange story.
It was America. Yeah. Look at what they found in the archive footage, how happy the people were. Look at the clip.
How did you know to come to me? How did you know I Es ist einfach ein Wow-Erlebnis gewesen, dort reinzugehen. Man hat sich aus dem Sozialismus verabschiedet und ist in eine völlig neue, ungewohnte Welt gekommen. Und dann ging es so eine Treppe, ein paar Stufen runter und diese ganze Lichtatmosphäre und was dann sich dort gezeigt hat, so ungefähr die erste Reaktion, da lautete, wow, das ist der Hammer.
What's so funny about this film, of course it describes the history, but for elder people the history is loaded with all kind of negative connotations, the former East Germany, how they struggled, and now there seems to be a reappreciation for that kind of architecture, including this postmodern East European style. How about you?
As you said, we found this footage in the archives. It's not really like that. It's like we thought when we started the research, and Adrien came up with the story, and then we were thinking of, oh, let's make a documentary, because we were at that time, like 7 years ago, we were seeking for like material for stuff to do a documentary. We always wanted to do that, and so I thought, okay, there must be loads and loads of material in the archives, but there was really none. So we made an open call in the newspaper, send us your material, and so something was pouring in, but not so much. And so we found out, okay, this is really forgotten. No one really speaks about it, and it's like it's not only the architecture that is forgotten, and it's the whole place. It's the whole time of that 1989 thing where the memory is erodating, and also this like this thing of small blossoming and this breaking free that started in the late 80s in Leipzig, basically. That is in a kind of mixture and is like connotated in a very bad way. And what we tried with the documentary was not to like acknowledge this architecture, but tell the story and see what we can find in that building that is not just a pure design and not just something that came out of from a fantasy, but just to make a time tunnel to 1987 and what was the situation. And then you will find out that they were suffering from the system and needed to create workarounds to fulfill their like fantasies. And this was not like government planned bowling alley. This was basically an illegal planned bowling alley, and everyone was chipping in because they said, okay, this is a way to get things done.
But it was planned by the government, Thomas.
Yeah, not really. It was the government in Berlin never knew about it.
Not in Berlin, no, but in Leipzig.
In Leipzig.
It was the Leipzig city
exactly,
government that said, let's
like
make this crazy place and not tell Berlin.
Exactly, that's the spirit.
It's an amazing story.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
But the interesting thing is like, you see like the changes through the building, because like 10 years ago this never would have been happened, because they would like get I don't get in jail or something for doing this. And
I still found it amazing that this could actually happen, and that something like 7,000 volunteers, people from Leipzig, would come and work to build the place in exchange for 1 or 2 hours of bowling.
So it has nothing to do with nostalgia.
Yeah, this is the thing. That's what I wanted to say. Like, because we are talking about nostalgia, this was like the worst thing for us could happen. Like this nostalgic thing. I think it's like nostalgic is mean like this.
The longing for an era that never was.
Yeah, glorifying like the East, like the times and stuff. And this we didn't want it to do, like, but we wanted to show like through the building, just tell something about the zeitgeist and how it was. And we could have like there are some scenes about like the shitty other houses and stuff. but we didn't want to make a movie about like the shitty houses.
No.
But like we thought like about the most thinkable contrast to all these houses. This just single house, and through like this contrast, we wanted to make like a mirror to the rest of the country and all the time.
I was glad, since this is a festival about film and architecture, I was glad that you looked at Bowlingtreff without looking at matters of taste. Is it a beautiful building? Is it an important building? It doesn't matter. You look at what it means. And it really meant so much for Leipzig in those years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there you see that film and architecture comes together as the architecture in itself is a script. And it's proven in this film. It tells a story and it leads you to the end. There's an end as well. It's not a happy end. So what would be the happy end? That they're gonna rebuild this building?
Yeah, we see the Bowlingtreff as a whole metaphor for the time from 1987 till today. And so if we if we think of a happy end, we would think of a happy end for the whole, life, So this...
And that doesn't exist.
Possibly not.
Ooh, dun, 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 blah, blah, blah.
You know what I mean? It's like it was open in '87. This was like the place, and then 1990. People might have thought like, oh, okay, leave me alone, don't go there. This is like, okay, we've been over this, and so like so many places in Leipzig, this got forgotten. And today we have a small focus on the city center again, and we have a focus on old buildings and on history of the buildings, and so there's a small spotlight on the Bowlingtreff right now, but I'm not sure if this is enough to preserve it or to... But it's interesting to keep watching, and because you can read so much in this whole process of the Bowlingtreff, and and refer it to social life in the city or in the East as in general, to me.
Well,
but in this taste question, it's actually a good question, because like there are always like these waves of taste in fashion or in architecture, and it's always like the next generation of the last style they always hate it. And like the Bowlingtreff, like if you ask like an minimalist architect in Leipzig or in Germany, he will not appreciate it, the architecture. And that's why they are not going to destroy it because it's listed, but because out of the wrong taste, they're going to destroy it or other buildings. And it's really one of the few postmodern buildings in the GDR, and that's what we wanted to do with the movie, to tell a story about this
phenomena.
Yeah, to like a ruin that you can read out of the building, and you can read like. If you know some story about the building, you can read like the whole 80s in the GDR.
That's fantastic. It's another exquisite corpse like the pier.
Like the pier.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So the story is in the building, and I like that very much. And rewriting, or in a way, writing the story of the complex story of the East and West Germany and Leipzig that's coming alive. It's called already the New Berlin. Who found that out? But okay, go to Leipzig and find out for yourself. And I hope this film will find a great audience, because it deserves it. Thank you very much for showing it to us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And
Adrien.
Bowlingtreff is, I think, tomorrow, eh?
Tomorrow night, at 8:30 or something.
8:30, yeah, tomorrow night. And be there, and they will be there too.
Yeah, we're there.
Well, again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adrien.
Thank you.